This here is the solution to a lot of problems, and I'm pretty keen to tell you guys about it. So this is originally a grinder that we found in an antique store, and it was just meant to help me turn these into powder, which helped me for my drawing. But it's done a whole lot more, and it's been on quite a cool journey as well. I try to get really dark backgrounds in my drawings, and one of the key ways that I do that is by grinding down these 9B graphite sticks into really fine powder and then applying that with cotton wool onto my paper. And there's a whole bunch of videos around how I do that, but one of the tedious things about doing all of that is trying to get this into powder without creating a huge mess. This video is also sponsored by Squarespace, but I'll tell you more about them later. So for the last couple of months, I've just been using this grinder as is, without any kind of protection or hood or anything like that, to try and keep a lot of the mess that it creates localized. It starts to spit that powder everywhere. It can land on my drawing, which is really scary because sometimes you can't see it. It can make your drawing dirty, and that's just a nightmare to try and deal with. There's been a couple of times where I've done it and friends have been in the studio and then their laptops get covered in graphite. All of my stuff gets covered in graphite. It's hard to keep my hands clean. I also get a bunch of graphite in my nose just from breathing it in. So it's really hectic. And this was an attempt to try and solve that problem. Our thinking is to have a block of wood and then carve out an area where the graphite can fall into. This here would be the gully, so as this spins, the graphite will fall down into here and we'll be able to kind of brush it out into a tray that I can hold over there. So that'll be the first prize, that'll be perfect. It's really funny to see how hopeful we were that being able to do this was going to be easy. But I think it's important to start with like the best possible case scenario and then to refine it back to something really, really simple. One of my biggest problems is that I have very little experience working with wood. I didn't know how much work it would be to do that first design. That could function as the same thing made the whole project a lot easier. But there were a lot of other problems to try and solve before we got to this wooden hood. We needed to try and find a better way of holding the sandpaper to the grinding stone. And that's where our friend Rupert Green came in handy.
So I'm Rupert Green and I make cool objects out of all different types of materials.
Rupert advised us on what we could do, what we couldn't do, and helped us just get things together to get a nice, really neat and elegant solution. This is just like the most rudimentary solution that we found. So this is temporary. We don't have to keep this. If we can have something...
Because the sanding disc, I think, is a very good...
It's nice because we can replace it.
It can be cleaned, yeah.
Yeah.
It's easy to remove.
It's super pragmatic and you can change grits and stuff.
Yeah.
So what I was thinking is you can make just new mounting hardware as necessary. You know, these are called flanges. So you can just make new ones if needs be. Like keeping this guy going. This is just on here because it's the old thing that was on here.
Yeah.
You're not using this in any way.
No.
Fly this and just make a backing plate for...
Oh, we could even use Velcro.
Yeah, so I was thinking you just go and buy, because these wear out on these machines. You can buy this piece on its own. So you just get this at the right size. So you just make a backing plate that has the shaft hole or whatever on it.
Yeah.
And then you just mount one of these Velcro pads directly on there.
So what about the weight of the wheel?
Yeah, then you can keep it for inertia.
And we can
or you
mount,
could just make it out of steel or something and have even more inertia.
More inertia.
What I'm doing is making a special wheel, pretty much, to replace this old stone to mount sandpaper onto, but have enough, you know, to keep it rolling.
Rupert has a really beautiful way of articulating things.
The problem was that this was just a, you know, it's not optimized for, so it needs to be made more. It's got a little, so we've got a kind of slightly different approach, size, sanding and stuff. And hey presto, it's going to be fun because this is the biggest thing I've ever turned on my tiny machine. But let's give it a go.
Let me show you something.
Rupert absolutely crushed it. We have such a beautifully balanced wheel here, and it's made sharpening things so much easier. So that was the one thing we definitely couldn't do ourselves, and we needed to have an expert who really is insanely meticulous with their work. So for the last couple of months, I've just been using this grinder as is. So Gemma and I have been trying to design a hood that will solve all of our problems in the studio. Originally, we first had this really luxurious design where we were going to carve stuff into wood, and we slowly realized that that would firstly take an age, but it also wouldn't really work that well. Eventually, I separated my workshop from my studio and moved in with one of my old friends, Philip, who has a lathe, and that was a game changer for us. So we realized we could lathe a bowl together, and this could act as the beautiful hood that we were looking for that would keep all the graphite powder as much as possible away from my drawing and keep it in the space that it needed to be. It's a lot harder in practice than what it seems like. Gemma can definitely attest to things going wrong. What's happened is the wood is starting to split, and with it turning so fast that can get really dangerous. So I've already glued it once, and you'll have to glue it again. It's slowing us down a bit. So hopefully we can keep turning this in
24 hours.
30 minutes.
30 minutes?
Except do not stress the joint for 24 hours after you've glued it. Problem solving with Gemma was very cool as well. So she's a sculptor by trade and primarily works in the practical world. So her practical 3D thinking came in handy in a massive way, and being able to bounce ideas off someone like her was just invaluable. At the same time, I'm also trying to spend my time drawing, and so fortunately, Gemma was here to help me finish up the bowl. There were a lot of times where I couldn't be there to help problem solve, and being able to lean on her was important, but I don't think it was all smooth sailing for her either.
Okay. It's wide enough. And now I need to find a way to place the magnets inside both lids so that it holds it together. But I don't know how to make them align inside the lid. Otherwise the lid will close slightly skew. I don't know how to get this measurements exactly the same. My gut is saying do math and pray.
Well, firstly, magnets are super satisfying. And then, yeah, we can't sharpen very well. Like, I want to try and get a very flat angle. There's an opportunity here actually as well. I've been trying to think of a way to hold a pencil so that I could get the same angle, and we could actually use the hood as that thing. So if we measure that angle that I want to try and get, we can just push up right against the hood and then rotate the pencil. I mean, we could just have a slot in here, almost routed, like a channel, and then you insert it like that. We made this thing now. Have we tested it yet?
No,
Can we test it?
that's what we're doing now. You're really going full speed.
Yeah, I want to test it properly.
Okay, so I think before we take hood off next time we tap.
Good job. Okay, and then how do we get that out?
So you get the brushy.
I wonder if this could be improved somehow. Like the way that we scoop the graphite out. And then check, there's quite a bit of graphite powder that goes into the back there as well. Okay, so that's a problem for us to try and figure out. This is version 1, and I'm already thinking about version 2, and I think we've got some ideas to make this even better, with even more inertia. So this was a ton of work, and I think it's a good question to ask why go to the trouble of doing all of this when you can just use sandpaper in the room next door. There's very practical solutions to all of these problems. You don't have to spend ages building something, putting things together, working with tools that you haven't got any experience working with, and just taking your time making something like this. And I think that that's a really important psychological element to an artistic practice, or actually any practice, and that's the love and care that you have for the space and the tools that you work in every day. It feeds me so much to have a hand in the tools that I work with, to try and make beautiful objects that I interact with every day. And there's a story behind the tools that I work with as well. It kind of makes coming to your desk and drawing, picking up objects that you have a relationship with a little bit more meaningful. Sometimes it can be so hard to get yourself to show up every single day. And I think that working with special tools, they don't have to be expensive or anything fancy like that. It can just be something that has value to you. And by making things yourself, you automatically imbue it with so much value and a story. So I think it's important to opt in to these kinds of things, to really try and not just view the finished product as the important part of your studio or your drawing table or your artistic practice, but every element of it, the tools that you use, to try and make the work that feeds you. Before I end this video, I just want to give a quick shout out to this video sponsor, Squarespace. I've been working with them for a couple of years now, and they've played a huge role in my career. Not only in helping me maintain this channel by sponsoring these videos, but more importantly, they played a huge role in my career. When I was starting out, I was trying to find a way to showcase my work, make it easy for collectors to find me and get in touch with me. And I felt that Squarespace just did that all effortlessly. I never had to patch or upgrade anything. I could register a domain with them and set up an online store. And most importantly, I could design a portfolio and show my work the way that I wanted to. Also, every time I got stuck, their amazing support team helped me out instantly. So if you're looking at building a website, give Squarespace a try. And if you decide that you love them, use this offer code and get 10% off your first purchase. This project took a really long time to put together, and often we end up asking ourselves, like, is it worth it? I think that final sentiment of just what we get from making things, from creating our spaces, from creating our tools, makes it all worthwhile for me. It's a really fantastic way to really challenge my brain and flex my problem-solving abilities, but not only mine, but the team that I surround myself with. We all had so much fun trying to figure this thing out and make a beautiful object. And we're going to make so many more objects. There's another one on the table right now. But if you're interested in seeing other tools that we're busy working on, there's actually some in the workshop right now, which I'm so excited to show you. But make sure that you subscribe to the channel to stay up to date with all the future videos that we're putting out. As always, thanks for the support, and I'll see you guys in the next one.